Hi, my name is Jill Arneberg, and I'm the GT coordinator for Franklin Public Schools, and today we're going to be talking about math acceleration. Today will be just a brief overview of what the math acceleration process is and how to get started. So what is math acceleration? Students who meet the district's criteria for math acceleration will be accelerated to the next grade level. So for example, a student in 4th grade who meets the criteria for math acceleration in spring, he or she would go to 6th grade math during their 5th grade school year. And math acceleration is important because we know that the best method to meet the needs of gifted students is through a flexible combination of readiness grouping and acceleration. So if you have a student that is well beyond, at least 2 or 3 years beyond their grade level, then acceleration is an option for them. And it's very difficult to differentiate for a student if they already know at least 80% of the content that you're going to be covering. So it's really about meeting the student needs. However, we also want to be sure that when we accelerate math students, that we're using appropriate criteria and measures. Initial math acceleration criteria. It's important when we identify students for math acceleration that we have a set criteria that we're looking at to ensure proper placement for math students, and that it really helps to guide our decision making. So there are 6 points that we look at initially to identify students. So first, think of a student that is performing at least 2 to 3 years beyond their peers. There are also state guidelines and research that require us to look at multiple sources of data. And one source of data that we look at is the student's SAI score at 135 and above. WKCE scores and MAP scores in the 98th percentile and above, and the mid-year assessment score of 95% and above. And then finally, students who are predicted to perform at least 80% and above on the following year's end-of-year assessment. We want to ensure that students who are skipped a grade level have all of the necessary skills to be successful in that year, and that there aren't any gaps in their learning. So it's really important that we look at all of these pieces to ensure that their skill level is ready for acceleration. And again, this is mainly for students in grades 3 through 6. Kindergarten through 2nd grade students are looked at on a case-by-case basis through the CST process. Other criteria that we look at for initial math acceleration, other considerations such as the teacher who's making the recommendation, student work samples, and also high evidence of student performance, not just the high test scores, but are they performing at a high level consistently in the classroom? And is that student socially and emotionally ready to work with students who are older and take on more responsibility? And also, please understand that this is a committee recommendation. This involves the building principal, the classroom teacher that's making the recommendation, the classroom teacher that will take on that student for the following year, the GT coordinator, and the parents, as well as the parents make the final decision in the end. When do I refer and can I wait? Referring in early spring helps to ensure scheduling and class placement that works for the student for the following year. If a student solidly meets the criteria, it's really important to refer students in spring for that reason, to ensure that they're properly scheduled. And it's also really hard to accelerate a student mid-year because of scheduling reasons, and it's not really what's best for the student. It's really great to have them start off fresh with the year with new students that they're going to be working with. And it's also extremely difficult to challenge a very high gifted student with our spiraled curriculum. So appropriate acceleration helps to ensure that those students are constantly being challenged and learning new material instead of material they might have already mastered. So it's really about meeting their needs, again, like I said, and making sure that they're growing. Next steps for referring students. Once you're ready to refer, if you have any questions, please contact me and I can give you further information and procedures to support you along the way. But if you know that your student meets the initial criteria that we talked about earlier, the first step is filling out the referral form and sending that back to me at Ben Franklin by February 23rd. And once I receive that referral form, I will be in contact with you to talk about the next steps. But if you're unsure about a student and they meet some of the criteria and maybe not all of it, please do not contact the parents. I ask that you please contact me, and I will contact the parents after we speak and talk about the process. However, if you do have parents that have questions, please feel free to refer them to me and I will contact them. What happens when students are referred? Once you fill out the referral form, just so you know what the process is, students who meet the minimum criteria will be doing further testing. The classroom teacher will administer the mid-year for the following year test, and if that student scores 95% or higher on that assessment, the student will then move on to taking the end of the year assessment for the following year, and we're looking for a score of 80% or higher on that assessment. If the student meets that criteria, I will be doing some further gifted assessments. Then the committee will meet and discuss all the data points and make some decisions and come up with some options for the student. I will then contact the parents and we'll meet again as a committee and make some final decisions in the best interest of the student. If you have any further questions, like I said, this was just a brief overview. Please feel free to contact me at Ben Franklin. The easiest way to get in touch with me is via email. However, if you'd like to call and leave a voicemail, I will get back to you as soon as I can. And once again, we're really trying to make sure our acceleration process addresses the students who truly need acceleration. And it's about meeting the needs of all students and where teachers, coordinators, administrators, and parents have a true voice.